event of the evening, our Major League Baseball Power Rankings, our most heated and
controversial power rankings.
Yeah, he didn't see the show.
Will they be that tonight?
Well, that's a good question, Derek. Of course, if you didn't see the show or hear the show last week, it was without question our most heated and controversial, especially on my end. But I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be like that this week. I mean, I really looked at the numbers this time around, so I'll be surprised if any of you guys question my picks this week. So with that, let's get into our power rankings, and let's start it off with Michael Fletcher. Who you got at number 10, Fletch?
Let's see, guys. Actually, I'm trying to pull them up right now, so just give me a second. Actually, give it to somebody else. I'm gonna get mine set, okay?
I'll go to Derek Pereira. I know you already shared it with me, but share it for our viewers. Who do you have at number 10 this week?
All right. If you haven't seen, I did my power rankings on Monday on my SLB 2008-09. Next week I'll be doing them on Friday on the YouTube. But yeah, last night I didn't know if I was going to be on the show tonight, but this week I have a tie at number 10, the Chicago White Sox and the Atlanta Braves. Let me get to the Atlanta Braves first of all, because this is the team that I want to really beef on. Wow, they got swept by the New York Yankees. And by the way, I had to make a little bit of a tweak tonight with the original power rankings that I gave last night. And it's all because of the body of work. I mean, let's see here. Atlanta Braves, they got swept. I don't know who they're playing this weekend, so I assume it could be an AL team. Let me pull up. All right. So they play the Baltimore Orioles this weekend. And let me just pull off. Okay, here we go. Here's my notes. Yeah, they get the Boston Red Sox after that. So, yeah, it's going to be the two Mikeys going at it. Mike Fletcher going up against Mike Bullock's, excuse me. As far as the Chicago White Sox go, the reason I had to put them in these power rankings at number 10 2 weeks ago, they were the number one team, right? Well, guess what? They're losing to the LA Dodgers right now, 6-5. If you look at their record, it's not really that pretty. I mean, let's see. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Astros. And then, believe it or not, they lost, let's see here for my notes, 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals. They get the Dodgers this weekend, and then they get the Cubbies next week, and then they got to play the Brew Crew. So, yes, my number 10 this week are the Atlanta Braves and the Chicago White Sox.
Do you have an honorable mention, Derek?
I'm going to go with the LA Angels at number 11. They're losing tonight as well, by the way. They were going to be the number 10 team, but right now they are losing. So they're at number 11 on my rankings this week. Sorry.
All right. Michael Fletcher, are you all set, or do you want me to take it, or Bullock, or?
My number 10 this week is well, actually, I disagree with you. I kind of disagree with you, Ferreira. I do have Atlanta a little more higher on my rankings, but I have to, because of the fact that they did win tonight as well, and going into last week they did do very well. So and the thing is, they're still in the mix in the NL East. You know what? They're 6-4 in the last 10 games. So actually, I do put them. They're a little higher. They're not that much higher, but I do agree. But your other number 10, who was, I'm trying to remember.
White Sox.
Chicago, they're my number 10 this week on the power rankings. I do agree with that.
All right, so the White Sox are your number 10. I'll take it next. I have a 3-way tie at number 10. Atlanta Braves, Chicago White Sox, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to put them in there. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Before tonight, they were 5-1 in their last 6 games. You know how I base my power rankings. I do it from our rankings from last Friday to this Friday, and in that stretch, the Angels went 5-1, including a 3-game sweep of the Colorado Rockies, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Los Angeles Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. So that's huge right there. So anytime you beat the best team in baseball 2 out of 3 on the road, especially, I mean, you're definitely going to be rewarded. So I got to put them in at number 10 this week. 3-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks this weekend. They're currently losing to the D-backs right now, 5-0. And then they have a 3-game series with the San Francisco Giants. Of course, you know what that means. A rematch of the 2002 World Series, which the Angels won in 7 games, as we all remember. And then they get another set with the LA Dodgers, this time at Angel Stadium. So it should be very interesting to see. Of course, we talked about Mike Trout a little earlier on, with his great numbers. Another guy we need to talk about is Mark Trumbo. 328 average, 14 homers, 39 RBI. Of course, what about Albert Pujols? I mean, he's finally getting going. 264 average, 9 homers, 37 RBI. C.J. Wilson continuing to be the big acquisition they got from the Texas Rangers. 7 wins, a 2.30 ERA, 76 Ks. So they do well in this stretch coming up. They're going to be, maybe a little higher next week. And Derek and Flex, they pretty much touched on Atlanta and the White Sox, but I want to get a little more into Atlanta and the White Sox real quick. The White Sox, Adam Dunn's been on a major roll as of late. 22 homers and 50 RBI. Chris Sale, of course, the starting pitcher, 8 wins, 2.05 ERA, 76 Ks. He's pitching tonight against the LA Dodgers. And, I want to get a little more into their schedule. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Dud Houston Astros and lost 2 out of 3 to the defending World Series champion St. Louis Cardinals. They got the Dodgers coming up, a rematch, of course, of the 1959 World Series. Then they get the Cubs, like Derek said, which should be very interesting. And then, which was a rematch of past World Series they had back in the early days in the 1900s. And then, of course, the Milwaukee Brewers, their old division rivals. So it's great to see the Brewers going at it again. It brings back memories of when they were in the American League. A story for another day. So that's their stretch coming up. And then, of course, with the Atlanta Braves, they took 2 out of 3 from the Toronto Blue Jays, but they lost 3 in a row, swept 3 straight, 5 the New York Yankees. They did, however, get a huge win tonight against the Baltimore Orioles, 4-2 tonight at Turner Field. 2 more games against the Orioles this weekend, and then, of course, another shot at the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, rematch, of course, of the 96 and 99 World Series. And then that 3-game stretch at Fenway Park against Michael Bullock's Red Sox. So Fletcher and Bullock will be going at it this time on the big league stage. They went at it in the minor league stage, as you know, when the Gwinnett Braves and the Paw Sox went at it this week at McCoy Stadium. One of the games I attended. So if they do well in that stretch, Atlanta could be back. I got to be honest with you, Fletch. Your team, they've been a roller coaster team over the last few weeks. One week they're doing well, another week they're doing terribly, another week they were doing great, and then lately they've been, that 3-game sweep with the Yankees, that pretty much is the reason why they're at 10. Your boys are doing well. The pitching, Brandon Beachy, 5 wins, 198 ERA, 63 Ks. Tommy Hanson leads the team with 7 wins and 67 Ks. And, Craig Kimbrell picking up right where he left off. From his outstanding rookie campaign of a year ago, proving why he could be one of the best future closers in the game today. 18 saves, right? Only 1 blown save, an ERA of 1.5. So, and opponents are hitting only 131 against him. So that's pretty astronomical there. So, number 10s this week: LA Angels of Anaheim, Chicago White Sox, and the Atlanta Braves. So now, without further ado, let's go to Mr. Michael Bullock. Who's your number 10?
I'm going to go with Fletcher. I have the Chicago White Sox number 10 for all the reasons that you guys have described on the Chicago. So I say the one for number 9.
All right. All right, number 9. I'll start with number 9. Number 9 for me this week is the Tampa Bay Rays. They lost to the New York Mets this week. They actually got crushed by the New York Mets this week. I don't know if you saw it this week, gentlemen, but it was a team that was doing very well, and then their team has been struggling as well. What a difference a weekend makes. I mean, yeah, they swept the Miami Marlins 3 in a row, but they got absolutely manhandled by the New York Mets at home. Outscored, oh, by the way, 29-9. That's right, 29-9 to the New York Mets in 3 games at Tropicana Field this week. They did, however, rebound with a nice win over the Miami Marlins 11-0. So obviously a lot of frustration they vented out. 2 more games against the Marlins this weekend. Then they have a huge series against the Washington Nationals at Nationals Park, starting on Tuesday night. And then next Friday, a rematch of the 2008 World Series when they go up to Citizens Bank Park to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. So no doubt it'll invoke memories of that 2008 World Series, which the Phillies won in 5 games, as we all remember. So looking at the stats here, Matt Joyce, 289 average, 11 homers, 33 RBI. David Price, 8 wins, 3.01 ERA. James Shields, 7 wins, 4.06 ERA, 81 Ks on the pitching side. And offense is there, the pitching is there, but the reason why I had to drop them to 9 this week, like I said, 3 games, they got swept 3 in a row at home by the Mets at Tropicana Field, and you got outscored 29-9. So you know me, it's unacceptable, and you got to be punished for that. So my number 9 is the Tampa Bay Rays. So Ferreira, who do you got at number 9?
All right, my number 9. I just disagree with you. I got to go by the body of work. I'm going to say it's going to be the New York Mets at number 9. I mean, yes, they did get swept by the New York Yankees last weekend in the Subway Series. They did sweep the Tampa Bay Rays. But here's the thing, the Tampa Bay Rays are still one of the 3rd best teams in the American League East, and they're still contending based on the overall record. So the Mets, however, they did lose tonight to the Cincinnati Reds, 7-3. They got a 3-game series this week against Cincy, and then a 3-game series against the Baltimore Orioles. Subway Series 2 against the New York Yankees. So, Bullock, take it away.
Yeah, Michael Bullock, do you have a number 9?
All right, I'm going to go with Michael's team, the Atlanta Braves, at number 9, for all the reasons that you guys said earlier about the Atlanta Braves. I mean, like you said, Brandon Beachy leading the National League in ERA, and Craig Kimbrell picking up where he left off in his rookie year. And with that schedule you mentioned, if they could do well, they could be going up. Right now, the Atlanta Braves are my number 9.
All right, Michael Fletcher, who's your number 9?
Totally agree with Michael Bullock. It is the Atlanta Braves. I'm sorry, Anthony, I disagree. Well, actually, I haven't put your number 9 out yet. Actually, no, you did. I'm sorry, the Mets are not on my power rankings this week. But as a matter of fact, Tampa Bay got punished. I'm going to punish Tampa Bay so badly, they're not even in my power rankings this week, guys. They're not even in it. Atlanta is at number 9.
All right, let's move on to number 8. Michael Bullock, do you have your number 8, or do you need me to move on to somebody else?
I'll take it.
You can take that.
All right.
All right, Derek, who's your number 8?
My number 8 this week, it's the Tampa Bay Rays. Pretty much, let me pull off my notes over here. I mean, look what they did. Last weekend, they pretty much did the same thing that the Mets did over the week. Yes, they did sweep the Marlins. They did get swept. But look what happened to them tonight. They lost 11-0. And who knows, if this team keeps struggling, they're not even going to be in my power rankings next week. Because look at their schedule. They got a murderous road schedule coming up. They got the Marlins. After the Marlins, they get the Nationals. That's not going to be an easy game. And then next weekend, they get the Philadelphia Phillies. So, will they be in these power rankings next week? I don't know. So, my number 8, the Tampa Bay Rays. Bullet, it's yours.
All right, I gotta go with the Tampa Bay Rays at number 8. Like I said, for the Rays, they got swept by the New York Mets and scoring a total of 9 runs against them. That's not gonna satisfy me one bit. And with the way they lost tonight, really. And they've been an up and down.
Boy, not good.
They've been up and down. They've been an up and down team as well. And if they don't do well in that schedule, I gotta agree with you, sir. They won't be in these power rankings come next week. But for right now, I gotta keep them in there because they are still in contention in the American League East. The Tampa Bay Rays are at number 8.
All right, Michael Fletcher, who's your number 8?
My number 8 is the LA Angels of Anaheim. You guys actually mentioned it when you guys inexplicably put them in the bottom of the rankings. I think they should be a lot more higher than where they are. Number 8 is very good for me.
Sorry, guys, I disagree with all three of you. My number 8, this is actually where I have the New York Mets this week. What else is there to say? I mean, Derek pretty much touched on it, but I want to get a little more into it this time around. They were swept 3 in a row by the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium, but it was the 3-game sweep for Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, which is why I had to put the Mets ahead of the Rays on my rankings. Outscored them 29-9, like I said, but they did lose tonight to the Cincinnati Reds 7-3. 2 more games against the Reds this weekend at Citi Field. Then they host the Baltimore Orioles in a rematch, as you guys know, of the 1969 World Series with these 2 teams back, which the Mets won in 5 games. And then of course, Derek touched on it, the 3-game rematch, the Subway Series 2000 with the New York Yankees at Citi Field. So, going to be a very interesting series to say the very least. One guy I want to talk about on the New York Mets, we talked about him last week. We need to talk about him again. R.A. Dickey. I mean, this guy has been absolutely on fire this season. Here's a guy who just recently had a 32 2/3 innings scoreless streak. I mean, wow. I mean, you would never expect to see a guy like R.A. Dickey. I mean, a lot of people say, who's R.A. Dickey? Well, R.A. Dickey is proving himself to be one of the top pitchers in the National League, and in my honest opinion, one of the favorites right now. As of right now, he's one of the favorites in my honest opinion for the NL Cy Young Award. Him and Gio Gonzalez of the Nationals, which we'll talk about later on when we get to the Nationals. But 10 wins, 2.20 ERA, 90 strikeouts. I mean, he's out pitching Johan Santana, which is never easy. I mean, Santana, he's done his thing, 4 wins, 3.23 ERA, 79 Ks, but R.A. Dickey is clearly the number 1 pitcher on this staff, and if the Mets make the playoffs, I mean, to know that this guy, you're going to most likely see this guy in Game 1 of a best-of-5 series, and possibly in Game 5 as well, or 4, you never know. But he has proven himself to be one of the best pitchers in the game. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but he has been absolutely on fire at the plate, so he keeps doing what he's doing. He's definitely going to be in the contention for the NL Cy Young Award. Lucas Duda, 10 homers, 40 RBI. David Wright, 358 average, 8 homers, 36 RBI, still does his thing. And if they do well in that stretch I just mentioned, they're going to be moving up. No question about that. But for right now, I got to put the New York Mets in at my number 8 team this week. So now we're going to move on to number 7. And if you guys don't mind, I'm going to take this one first.
All right.
The number 7 team, my number 7 this week is the San Francisco Giants. I mean, what a week they've had. Obviously, of course, Matt Cain, we talked about it a little while ago with his perfect game. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Texas Rangers, but they took 2 out of 3 from the Houston Astros, including that perfect game. They're winning tonight in Seattle against the Mariners, 4-2 at Safeco Field. 2 more games against the Mariners this weekend. Then they have the LA Angels of Anaheim. In Anaheim, of course, like I said, rematch of the 2002 World Series, which they lost to the Angels in 7 games. And then a rematch of the 1989 World Series against the Oakland Athletics in Oakland. So that ought to be very interesting to see how that goes down. So they do well in that stretch. They'll obviously move up, like we say. Matt Cain, of course, the story of the week, with the perfect game against Houston. His numbers, 8 wins, 2.18 ERA, 96 strikeouts. Clearly now, he's now the number 1 starter on this team. I mean, before this year, a couple of years ago, you would say that Tim Lincecum. Many people would argue that Timmy Lincecum was the number 1 starter on this team, and Matt Cain was number 2. This time around, it's all Matt Cain. I mean, Matt Cain will be the number 1 starter, and if this team makes the playoffs, I mean, look out. I mean, knowing that you're going to have to face him in game 1 of a best of 5, I mean, it's not going to be a very easy task, to say the very least. Melky Cabrera, our old friend, 363 average, 5 homers, 31 RBI. Buster Posey, coming back from his gruesome injury of a year ago, 294 average, 7 homers, 33 RBI. I want you to watch out for this young kid named Brandon Belt. He's got 24 RBI. I'm going to pull up his other numbers here in just a moment. Another young talent, Brandon Belt. Keep an eye out for this kid. I mean, 3 homers, 24 RBI, 238 average, on-base percentage of 353, slugging percentage 405, OPS of 758. I mean, I've heard some good things about this kid lately, and he's been on fire lately. So all I can say is my number 7 is the San Francisco Giants, but if they do well in that stretch coming up, they're going to move up. So, Michael Fletcher, who's your number 7?
Anthony, for the first time tonight, I actually agree with you. Number 7 is indeed the San Francisco Giants. You actually nailed every note of it for me, so let's just move on. Anybody else who wants to jump in, jump.
Michael Bullock, who's your number 7?
I'm going to go with you guys. I'm going with the San Francisco Giants at number 7. I mean, you basically touched on everything you said for especially with Matt Cain and his perfect game that he had and all the other numbers. So, yeah, number 7 is the San Francisco Giants.
All right, Derek Ferrer, are we going to make this unanimous?
I disagree with all 3 of yous. Number 7 on my power rankings, the Cincinnati Reds. I'm sorry. I mean, you know me. I go by the standings and the body of work. I mean, let me touch on them. They got, well, what they did was they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Detroit Tigers. However, they did sweep the Cleveland Indians, and tonight they actually did beat the New York Mets. They get the Mets this weekend, and then they get the Cleveland Indians, and next weekend they play the Minnesota Twins. So, number 7 on my power rankings, the Cincinnati Reds.
Okay, Derek Ferrer, we're going to start number 6 with you. Who do you have at number 6?
My number 6 is the San Francisco Giants. I have to put them up there a little bit higher. I mean, they're getting up there. They're contending. Whoever thought that they were going to contend with the LA Dodgers, their rivals? I mean, you pretty much touched on everything. Tim Lincecum. Big question is, does he go to the bullpen? Gary's out to lunch on that, so we'll just move on to who's going to take it next.
I'll take it next. Of course, I obviously disagree with you, Derek. My number 6, this is actually where I have the Cincinnati Reds. Cincy is my number 6 this week. Yeah, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Detroit Tigers, but they did sweep the Cleveland Indians, and they manhandled them. I mean, they outscored them 24-9 in the 3 games. They're on a 4-game winning streak, oh, by the way, including a win against the New York Mets tonight, 7-3 at Citi Field. 2 more games against the Mets, and then a 3-game series at Progressive Field against Cleveland, and then a series against the Judge Minnesota Twins at home. So that's a bit of an easy stretch here, with the exception of the Mets. Because Cleveland, they haven't been any good ever since they started out really good. We had them as high up as in our top 5 weeks ago. But the Indians, oh boy, have they just gone totally, they've gone downhill, and not in a good way. And then, of course, Minnesota, one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, to say the very least. So they should have no trouble with them whatsoever at Great American Ballpark next weekend. Joey Votto, what can we say about him? Showing you why he was deserving of that huge contract extension he got. 362 average, 12 homers, 44 RBI. Jay Bruce, 13 homers, 40 RBI. Brandon Phillips, 292 average with 38 RBI. Johnny Cueto is the leader in the clubhouse for wins and ERA. 7 wins, 246 ERA, 59 Ks. Aroldis Chapman, I mean, a lot has been said about him. He had a 0 ERA at one point, but his ERA has gone up a little bit as he's been a little bit roughed up over the last few weeks. His ERA is now at 1.13. Cueto is 7-3, 246 ERA. Matt Latos has of course, he's in there as well. He's 5-2 this year. Their ERA a little on the high end, 4.64. They have 2 closers. Sean Marshall has 8 saves. Aroldis Chapman 7 saves. It was the flamethrower, as we all know. So, and they got a decent rotation. So, and if they do well in that, a little bit of an easy stretch. I mean, after the Mets, they got Cleveland, like I said, who's been struggling, and Minnesota, who has been absolutely a dud, one of the dud teams in Major League Baseball. So, they do well in this stretch. I mean, they could be possibly within the top 5 next week. So, my number 6 is the Cincinnati Reds. Michael Bullock, who's your number 6?
All right, I agree with the score. Cincinnati Reds are number 6 for all the reasons that you described. Mr. Fletcher, did he already describe who number 6 is?
You know what? Number 6 is very easy. Number 6 is very easy, guys. It's the Cincinnati Reds. Basically, we just flip-flopped with Ferreira. Ferreira had it a little different. We all had it the same. So, yeah, number 6 is, without a doubt, the Cincinnati Reds.
All right, Michael Fletcher, we're going to start it off with you. Who's your number 5?
Okay, batten down the hatches, boys. This might start a fight, but number 5, number 5, I got to say it. It's the Texas Rangers. They are 6-4 They were 6-4 in the last 10 games. They won tonight over the Houston Astros 6-2. 38 wins, 27 losses. And Texas is the division leader right now, and they're holding on. They have a 3.5 game lead over the LA Angels. And it's just, Texas is always going to be there. We just don't know what to see. And they're acting like a little bit of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We talked about Atlanta being Jekyll and Hyde. This team's been Jekyll and Hyde lately. But they are good enough. They're going to stay alive. They're my number 5.
All right. Who wants to take it next? Derek Ferrero?
I agree with Michael Fletcher. This is why I have the Texas Rangers at number 5. He pretty much nailed it in the head, so we'll move on. Who wants to take it?
All right. Michael Bullock, do you want to take your number 5, or do you want me to take it?
I'll take it. I'm going to go with Ferreira and Fletcher on this. Texas Rangers at number 5. What else is there to be said? You take number 5.
Sorry, guys. I got to disagree with all 3 of you. I got Texas just a little higher for me. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles at number 5. 2 out of 3 with the Philadelphia Phillies. Then they also swept the Pittsburgh Pirates 3 in a row, but they did lose tonight in Atlanta. They have 2 more games against the Braves this weekend, and then of course the New York Mets at Citi Field for the rematch of the '69 World Series, like I mentioned, and then 3-game series, a big 3-game series with the Washington Nationals, the Battle of Chesapeake Bay, if you will. So the O's are my number 5. I want to get a little more into it. Chris Davis, 308 average, 12 homers, 31 RBI. Adam Jones, as we all know, he's the star of the team, 306, 18 homers, 39 RBI. Jason Hamill in the pitching department, 6 wins, 3.22 ERA, and 75 Ks. He's the leader in the clubhouse there. Wei Yin Chen has 6 wins, a 3.68 ERA, and 55 Ks. So, I mean, correction, Hamill has 69 strikeouts. Jake Arrieta leads the team with 75. So, it's very surprising to see that the Baltimore Orioles are actually still in this thing. I mean, this is usually right around the time where they usually start to sputter and, go on that major downward spiral, but I'm actually surprised. I mean, this is the best they've been at this point in the season since 2005. And as we all know, they haven't been in the playoffs since, of course, 1997 when they won the AL East and had Cal Ripken and Brady Anderson and Rafael Palmeiro and that great rotation with Mike Mussina, Scott Erickson, and Jimmy Key, Scott Kamenicki, and, of course, Armando Benitez as their main setup guy, and Randy Myers was their closer. So it's the best team I've seen in 15 years with this franchise. So number 5 for me is the Baltimore Orioles. I'm sorry, guys, I got to disagree with you. So now we're going to move on to number 4. I'll start it off. This is actually where I have the Texas Rangers. They're my number 4 this week. They took 2 out of 3 from the San Francisco Giants, a rematch of the 2010 World Series, as we all remember. They did take 2 out of 3 as well from the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then they won tonight against the Houston Astros. 2 more games against the Astros this weekend. Then they go to San Diego for a 3-game series with the Doug Padres, and then a 3-game series at home against the Colorado Rockies. Very easy stretch here, guys. I mean, there's absolutely no denying it. I mean, Houston, they're a Kunsa team. San Diego, they're terrible. And Colorado, I mean, they right now have lost like 8 straight games. So there's absolutely no reason why the Texas Rangers can't have a great stretch of games coming up here. And I'll tell you right now, if they do well, and if the 3 other teams I have ahead of them, go down, they could possibly be flirting with number 1, which is a spot they were in early on in our power rankings, as we all remember. So Josh Hamilton, we all know he's obviously continuing his campaign for AL MVP. 330 average, 22 home runs, 62 RBI. Adrian Beltre, 300 average, 10 homers, 38 RBI. Matt Harrison has 8 wins, and Colby Lewis has a 3.13 ERA, but Yu Darvish, 7 wins, 3.72 ERA, 77 Ks. He's been a little shaky as of late, but, he's still, proven himself to possibly be the ace of this team. And, of course, if we see them in the playoffs, he could possibly be either the Game 1 or maybe even Game 2 starter. You don't know. So, and like I said, very, very easy stretch. I mean, this is a slam dunk stretch. Like I said, 2 more against Houston, 3 games in San Diego against the Padres, and then 3 games against the Rockies. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if they do not do well in that stretch, they're going to get punished big time next week. I mean, I know you guys hated where I put them last week at number 10 last week, but that was because they lost 2 out of 3 to the Angels and 3 out of 4 to Oakland. I mean, that's not going to get it done, but they rebounded very nicely this week, and that's why I moved them up 6 spots from 10 to 4. So, number 4, the Texas Rangers. Derek Ferreira, if you will.
Number 4, Baltimore Orioles. We pretty much touched on everything, so let's move on.
All right, Michael Fletcher, who's your number 4?
I agree with Derek Ferreira. Baltimore Orioles, number 4. Bullock, it's all yours.
I'm going to agree with Ferreira and Fletcher. Baltimore Orioles number 4. You basically touched on it before, so I say we move on to number 3.
And who do you have at number 3, Michael Bullock?
This one's a back and forth. It's between the New York Yankees and the Washington Nationals. I'm gonna can somebody else take this one? I really gotta take this one too.
All right, Michael. I see Fletcher throw it up, so I'll go to Michael Fletcher. Who's your number 3?
It's good, my friend.
Number 3, the Washington Nationals. There's no doubt about it. They are very good. Mike, I just have to say I do have the Yankees ranked a little higher on my rankings, but the Washington Nationals have been unbelievable in the last few weeks. 8-2. They did lose to the Yankees tonight. That's why I did punish them a little bit. But still, they are without a doubt one of the class teams in the National League East. They're up by 4 games on the Atlanta. They're 4 games up on the Atlanta Braves, and I think for me, they're definitely and they're the second best team in the National League. And for that, I got to make them number 3.
All right, Derek Pereira, who's your number 3?
All right, based on tonight's result, I touched on it earlier in the show, was who won that game tonight? It was the Yankees. So without further ado, I'm going to put the Washington Nationals at number 3. I mean, that's where I'm going to put them. So Fletcher pretty much touched it. Let's move on to who wants to take it.
All right, I'll take it.
Bullock, who's your number 3?
Yeah, I'm going with the Washington Nationals at number 3. That pretty much touched on it. I mean, if the Nationals had beaten the New York Yankees, I probably would have put them at number 2. Because of the result tonight, the Nationals are at number 3 for this week. So, it's good.
All right. For me, this got tough for me. For me, you know how I base it on the body of work. I got to be honest with you. I have to disagree with you guys. I'm going to go with how I feel about this. I actually have the Nationals a little higher. And, me and my body of work, we did this 2 weeks ago. I know you guys aren't going to like this, but, we can't have a power rankings without controversy. So I'm about to create some controversy here. I know this team should be at number 1 at the least, or number 2, depending on how you boys do it. But the Nats and the Yanks, for me, were the 2 best teams in baseball this week. There is absolutely, beyond the shadow of a doubt, no 2 other teams were better. So that's why I have them at 1 and 2. Who I have at 1 and 2, you'll find out in a moment. So with that, I have to do it. They were only 50-50 this week, but they're still good enough. My number 3, I know they should be higher, but the number 3 team for me is the Los Angeles Dodgers. I know you have them at 1. I can understand that.
All right.
But here's the thing. They were 3 and 3. They won 2 out of 3 from the Mariners, yes. But they lost 2 out of 3 to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, their crosstown rivals. I mean, that they have to take a bit of a hit for it. And like I said, the New York Yankees and the Washington Nationals were the 2 best teams in baseball this week, and that's why I have them as my top 2 teams this week, based on their body of work over the past, from last Friday to this Friday. They're playing the White Sox right now, and at last check, they are actually winning this game 7-6. It's now in the top of the 9th inning, so they're 3 outs away from another win.
Okay.
2 more against the White Sox, as we all know, 59 World Series rematch there. Then they have the Oakland Athletics, as we all remember. That's a rematch of the not only the 1988 World Series, but also the 1974 World Series. These 2 teams met in that World Series as well. And then another 3-game series with the LA Angels of Anaheim, this time in Anaheim. So, they're still doing good. Matt Kemp, as we all know, I believe he's still on the injured list, but once he gets back, they're going to be tough to beat. Derek touched on this in his YouTube video this week. A.J. Ellis, 303 average, 6 homers, 25 RBI. Andre Ethier, 291 average, 10 homers, and 55 RBI. Oh, by the way, he got signed to a contract extension earlier this week. A 5-year, $85 million extension, so a big signing indeed for the LA Dodgers, no question about that. Chris Capuano, 8 wins and a 2.87 ERA with 68 Ks. Clayton Kershaw, of course, the reigning and defending NL Cy Young Award winner, 2.65 ERA, 81 Ks. So, Dodgers may be the best team in baseball, and for that they probably should be number 1, but you know me and my idea work. I'm going to have to put them down just a little bit. They are at number 3, but if they do well in the stretch of games I just mentioned, and if the Yankees and the Nationals falter in any way, then perhaps the Dodgers will be back in their rightful number 1 spot. But for me, I have to put the LA Dodgers at number 3. So, did you guys all do your number 3s, or are we all set?
We all did it. We're going to 2.
All right. Okay, so, all right, we're going to move on to number 2 now. So, Derek Ferrera, who's your number 2?
Woo! All right. As you get to these power rankings, they do get tougher and tougher. I mean, all right. I'm going to take a chance here. I know this is going to be controversial, but you know what? Like Walter Miller says, I don't care about no man. I'm going to go with, based on the body of work, I got to go with the LA Dodgers at number 2. I have to go with them. You pretty much touched on it. Let's move on to somebody.
Let me see. Who wants to take number 2 next? Lex Fuller?
I'll take it. Number 2, I am with Derek Ferrera. It is the LA Dodgers. This was a tough call, Anthony, and I totally agree with what you're saying. But to me, this was not even close. The fight there was no doubt about number 1. The fight was really for 2 and 3, and it was between the Nationals and the Dodgers. I gave the slight edge to Los Angeles, even though if you look at the numbers overall, 7 and 3 in the last 10 games, but it does look like they are going to win tonight. They are 3 outs away, as you said. If they do slam the door, that means they'll be 8 and 2 in the last 10. But here's the thing. They are the best team in the National League. 40 wins, 24 losses. You just can't deny that. They're 2 wins better than the Washington Nationals, and for that puts them over the top in my book. So they're number 2 in my power rankings this week.
All right. Michael Bullock, who's your number 2?
You know what? I'm going to say the Los Angeles Dodgers at number 2. I mean, for all the reasons you guys said. So, with that said, I say it's time we move on to number 1.
Well, I actually have to give my number 2.
Sorry.
My number 2 this week is the Washington Nationals. I said it, their body of work this past week, from last Friday to this Friday, was unbelievable. 3-game sweep of the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park, and then a 3-game sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays at Toronto Skydome. But they did lose tonight to the New York Yankees at Nationals Park, 7-2, behind, and then ironically, it was their ace, Gio Gonzalez, who got absolutely manhandled by the Yanks lineup tonight. We'll get into that in a moment. 2 more games with the Yankees this weekend at Nationals Park, and then listen to this, guys. They got a murderer's row stretch coming up through the Nats. 2 more games against the Yankees. 3 more. They got 3 games at Nationals Park against the Tampa Bay Rays, and then they got to go to Baltimore to take on the Orioles. So 3 very tough stretch series coming up, and if they struggle in this series, they're going to go down. But if they do well, who knows? Maybe they could be number 1. You never know. But we're going to get into the numbers here. We talked about Bryce Harper earlier in that little debate we had about who was better between him and Mike Trout. He's got 7 home runs, so he's obviously doing well. The pitching-wise, this is what I got to talk about. The pitching is the bread and butter of this team. Gio Gonzalez, 8 wins, 2.35 ERA, 89 Ks. Steven Strasburg, 8 wins, 2.45 ERA, 100 strikeouts. I mean, 2 more guys who are in the running for the NL Cy Young Award. Those 2 along with R.A. Dickey of the New York Mets. As far as the offense goes, you got Bryce Harper, but you also have Adam LaRoche, 261, 11 homers, 42 RBI. Ian Desmond, 266, with 9 homers and 32 RBIs. So, and you heard that schedule, guys. A very tough schedule coming up against the Rays, against the Yanks, the Rays, and the Orioles. So, number 2 is the Washington Nationals. I believe you guys did your number 2s as well. So with that said, it's time for number 1, and I'm going to lead it off. My number 1 team, I think you boys know where I'm going with this. It is the New York Yankees. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, the hottest team in baseball right now. 7 straight wins, guys. 7 straight wins. They are absolutely peaking at the right time. I mean, we talked about it on past shows. They normally stumble out of the gate, but it's usually right around this time, just before the All-Star break, that they usually kick on the afterburners. And look what they did. 3-game sweep of the New York Mets, in which they outscored them 18-7. Then they go up against the Atlanta Braves, outscored them 12-6, 3-game sweep there at Turner Field, and then they knock off the Nationals at Nationals Park 7-2 behind Philip Hughes, who had an effort. 2 more games against the Nationals this weekend, and then they get the Atlanta Braves coming into Yankee Stadium for a big 3-game stretch. The first game will be Monday night on ESPN as part of their Monday Night Baseball. Of course, we touched on it, a rematch of the 96 and 99 World Series, both won by the Yankees, as we all remember. And then a 3-game set against the New York Mets at Citi Field, rematch of the Subway Series, of course, from earlier this year, and in, of course, the 2000 World Series, as we all know. So, Derek Jeter, the captain, 319 average, he was doing his thing. Curtis Granderson, who was the hero of one of the Yankees' wins over the Braves, 19 homers, 36 RBI. Robinson Cano, 294 average, 11 home runs. A-Rod, 276 average. Swisher, 39 RBI. They're doing their thing. Ivan Nova and CC Sabathia, each with 8 victories. Hiroki Kuroda, 3.43 ERA. CC, 3.70 ERA. And CC leads the team with 92 strikeouts. And of course, I touched on it last week. I'll touch on it again. A lot of people, especially the haters out there, they thought that once Mariano Rivera messed up his knee during the shagging of the fly balls in his city, that they thought the Yanks were done. Oh no, they're not done. They're just getting started. Rafael Soriano, without question, he's now the closer of our team, and he has filled in very, very nicely for Mariano Rivera. A 2-0 record with 11 saves, only 1 blown save, 193 ERA. I mean, he's doing his thing. Andy Pettit, 3-2, 281 ERA. He's looking like the Andy Pettit of old. Kuroda, 6-6, Sabathia, 8-3, and Ivan Nova, 8-2, and Phil Hughes, who had a great effort tonight against the Washington Nationals, in which he was the winning pitcher over Gio Gonzalez, who you know how I feel about him. Philip Hughes tonight, I mean, the effort he had, six innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, ERA of 4.5. And what else is there to say? I mean, Curtis Granderson, 20 home runs. He's definitely doing his thing. He was the hero tonight. Jeter with an RBI, A-Rod with an RBI, Swisher with an RBI. I mean, look out, boys. Here they come again. The New York Yankees. I mean, this is generally the time of the year they get going. And if they continue to get going, they could possibly be the team to beat in the American League if they keep this up. So, number 1 for me this week in our power rankings for June 15th, 2012, it is the New York Yankees. Michael Bullock, it's yours, number 1.
The New York Yankees are number 1. Basically, touchdown, 7 straight wins for them. The rest of it we said, I don't know who's going to take this one, man.
All right. Fletcher, who's your number 1? As if we didn't already know.
The team is 9-1, 7 in a row. The best team in the AL East. The best team in the American League. Period. The most historic and most rich franchise in baseball history. The 27-time World Series champions. The New York Yankees are number 1 in the power rankings this week.
And Derek Ferreira, I assume we're going to make it unanimous, right?
Yes. That's it.
All right. That about concludes this edition of Strictly Sports. Another great show as always. we're going to, but before we sign off, of course, we're going to get into our shout-outs, and we're going to start it off with our Grand Poobah himself, Derek Ferreira. Who are your shout-outs?
All right, first and foremost, thank you for covering for me tonight, at least an hour or so coming in. But, yeah, definitely we'll be back next week hosting the show, and, you know, we could be doing this at 10:30 next week. I mean, I like the 10:30 time slot better. At least all four of us can be on the show. So next week we will be changing our time from 10 o'clock to 10:30 Eastern Standard Time here in the East Coast. So you want to check us out. You know who I'm going to go with my shout out, as always. Courtney Fallon, Jenny Down, for the status that Anthony Florio actually checked out a half an hour ago before he talked to Buffalo on the show the other night. So I was shocked to hear that, but until Sunday night when we do the Over the Limit pay-per-view review, Derek Forever signing off, and who wants to take it next?
Let's toss it up to Michael Bullock. Who are your shout-outs, Mr. Bullock?
A shout out to our fans and our viewers who continue to make Strictly Sports number one, and also the Wrestling Forum. We thank you guys, and of course Derek's favorite person. He wants to try to get on Courtney Fallon, and of course Jenny Down as well. And my really big shout out goes out to the people over at the WPRI Club in Fox Province for having me on the road show. On Thursday, the actual road show game itself, Mary Larson, Will Gilbert, and of course Anthony Big Money Ball, Taylor Johnson. So that's pretty much it for me. So until tomorrow night when me, Anthony, and Fletcher to do our preview of North, as the Jimbo would always say.
Who are your shout-outs for this week?
You know what? Shout out to all the great fans out there. You guys are amazing. And then I also want to give a shout out to, just the fans this week. From the people from the... Can you guys hear me?